Greetings, students. This is Professor Aldrich, and I am your instructor for GEN122, Introduction to Online Studies and Personal Discipleship. And for many of you, I understand that this is probably your first course at Grace Christian University after your orientation. Maybe not, but my guess is that most of you, this is your first class. So welcome to online learning. And for those of you who maybe have had other classes, but you've never met me before, greetings. I had the pleasure of writing this course, or rewriting this course, I should say. We did an overhaul of it several months ago, and so I had the pleasure of being involved in that. So if you don't like the course, you have me to blame. But I trust that you're going to enjoy this. I think it's a really, really good start to your educational career and journey here at Grace Christian University. So I wanted to not only greet you and welcome you, but I want to share just a couple of brief tips that I've found are greatly helpful for students who are beginning their educational journey online. And I have taught this class probably upwards around 40 times, I want to guess, in addition to maybe another 30 or 40 courses at Grace Christian. And over time, you begin to see trends in students and habits that they have developed that will determine whether or not they're going to be successful or whether or not they're going to struggle. And I've really boiled this presentation down to just a few brief tips, but I do think that if you implement or you start to implement these in this first course, you're going to find that your journey is a lot smoother than if you don't. So I'm just going to go over these. It'll just take a couple of minutes, and I trust that this will be helpful to you. So simple keys to success with online learning. Number one, schedule a regular time to do your work and make that time non-negotiable. You know, if you were to have to go to a workplace, I'm certain that many of you work jobs, it would not be negotiable for most workplaces as to whether or not you were going to show up and whether or not you were going to do your work at a particular time. And I think you really need to take school, or you need to have the same mindset with your courses, with your schoolwork. Schedule a regular time that you're going to do your work. It probably will be several times throughout the week, and make that non-negotiable. It's just like going to work, just like clocking in. This is when I'm going to do my work. Secondly, don't try and finish a week's worth of work at one sitting. Depending on the week, depending on the intensity of the curriculum that you're studying, you're going to be spending several hours doing classwork. And if you try and cram it in all at once, you're not going to get the most out of the material. You're not going to do your best work, and you're going to find yourself very frustrated. So that would probably be a procrastinator's mantra, is do everything at once and at the last minute. That doesn't really work well for the long term. So I would encourage you, don't try and finish your work in one setting. Try and work during your high mental energy times. I know for me, if I have work that I need to do that requires a high level of mental focus, I'm going to do that in the morning. If I try and do that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm really not good. I try and schedule my appointment times when I'm talking to people in the early afternoon, because after lunch, that's probably not my sharpest mental time to be doing reading or writing, but I'm very good at talking during that time. After 7 o'clock at night, I'm usually not real good with either one, but my mornings are when I'm very focused mentally. I know that some people, it's not an option for you, but when you can, use your high mental energy times to do your homework. Tell your family or your loved ones that you're busy during the time that you've scheduled for schoolwork. Once again, if your friends don't know what you're doing, or suddenly they don't understand why you're not around, that's going to be a temptation to get pulled away from your priority. So I tell people, tell your loved ones and your friends in advance, hey, look, I'm back in school. I've got to set aside a certain amount of time. I'm not able to go to this, that, or the other thing like I used to be able to, because my attention is going to be given to my schoolwork right now. Also, don't feel like you need to know everything out of the gate. I appreciate the fact that students want to do well. Sometimes students are very apologetic because they don't do better work than what they're doing. But most of your professors, if not all, understand that you're going to school because you need to learn things. We don't expect you to be an expert out of the gate. Ask questions. If you don't know how to do something, just ask. There are resources set in place to help you in this journey. And don't feel guilty if you don't know how to do something right out of the gate. Reward yourself often. If you find yourself working for several hours and you complete something, reward yourself. And that looks different for everyone. Doesn't have to be a big reward, but just some of those little things that you can tell yourself, when I finish this, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to reward myself. Maybe it's a little bit of ice cream. Maybe it's I'm going to surf on social media for a half an hour. Whatever it is that kind of feels good, like you've accomplished something, reward yourself. It's a good idea, and it keeps you motivated for those short-term goals. And then finally, remember, the expert in anything was once a beginner. So think of the smartest person that you can possibly think of. Remember, once they were in diapers. And Albert Einstein did not come up with the theory of relativity in first grade. So everyone who is an expert was a beginner at one point in time. So don't feel bad about the fact that you're just starting the journey. Only God knows what's going to happen on the other side of your obedience. Take it one step at a time. God called you here for such a time as this. And I'm praying for you. Lots of people are praying for you. We're excited for what God has in store, what he's going to teach you, how he's going to shape and mold your character and prepare you for the next season in your life. But right now, this is the work God's given you to do. God bless you and enjoy the journey.